Hey guys, how's it going? This bus was something I just dragged home about 450 miles each way from upstate New York. It is now mine, and cool looking bus. Old 66 camper, needs a bunch of love. That is going to go into a friend's storage for a little while. I got other projects ahead of it, but one of the things I want to attempt to find out what we have is the engine. So we're going to bring the engine back home and take a peek at it, maybe put it on a stand or just bolt a starter to it and go through it, see what kind of shape it's in and what we have, see if it's blowing up or if it's decent or it's got compression. Well, we're going to go find out. So allow me to get all situated, get some stuff put away, and go bring that home. Hey guys, it's a couple days later. I got this in the garage on my little lift table, and I guess we're going to do a little assessment on it, see what we got, make sure we got a decent motor, and if not, you know, I got enough parts to build one, but might as well see what we have. This one has an external oil filter on it. I have one on Crusty. Seems to be a good setup, works pretty good. The exhaust gets kind of close to it. The muffler lays right about here, but it doesn't seem to have been an issue with that. Missing the coil, we'll have to go dig one of those up to power it. I don't really see, it's missing a bunch of the cooling, the thermostat and cooling components under this fan shroud, but again, we don't need any of that for assessment. It will get stripped down to the long block if everything's okay. It'll get stripped down even further if it's not, but let's go and put the starter. This is for running an engine portable without the transmission. This is just a hunk of transmission cut away, and it is using a Type 3 starter. Type 3 starter does not have the end of the shaft, does not stick out and go into the bushing, so this can run in any VW. You got a VW and you've converted it from 6 to 12 volts. That's a good starter to go with. It'll fit in everything. It's self-supporting is what it is. It does not have the shaft come out and again work off of that bushing. Getting ready to put that on there, and I see the push rod tube is dented, so it's gonna need push rod tubes. Hopefully the push rod itself on the inside is not bent, but I guess we're gonna go find that out too, huh? Might be a good idea to see if there's any oil in it too, huh? I don't see a thing. It has nothing. Yeah. Cranked it for a while to get oil pressure that way, huh? Let me go top that off. Oh, before I put 10 bucks in oil in it, let's go make sure it makes it a complete path all the way around. See a lot of mold on the belt coming off. Yep, good. So compression 1 and 2. Yeah. Good. Normally it gets 30 weight in it. I don't have any here. I'm going to put 530 in it, but it's only going to be in there for, you know, test purposes. Not like it's going to run for a long time. Can you tell I put oil in it? Does it show? Yeah, at least it's full. Alright, that piece of bell housing is on there. The starter is on there. And I just have, from a jumper pack, the ground lead just grounding out to the block. I went with the top bolt. And then the hot lead is just going to the large post on the starter. Then there's a jumper that goes from also 12 volt top to the other tab on the starter. This is the signal that would come from your key to make the starter crank when you turn the key. Well, we have it going to a switch, so we'll give it a bump and see what it does. Says it's full. All right. Got the crank. We are going to take and see if we have oil pressure. So the next thing I want to go do is the oil pressure switch is right here. We're going to put a test light on it. One end's going to go from here. The other end is going to go to the hot on the jumper pack too. So this will be going to ground, and then 12 volts is on the other side of the light. The light should be, this should be grounded when you're not running, and then when you fire it up, the ground should open up and the light should turn off. So that's what we're going to go check on next. All right, so that is joining the party on the plus 12 volt side of things. And again, the block is grounded. So if the oil pressure switch is any good, the light should light up. There we go. If you can get that in there to stay. And let's see if we can go crank it and see if that light will go out. I'll hold it in place too. That's no good. That should have shut off. I'm gonna go double check on that jumper pack, make sure it's charged all the way up. Sounds like it's kind of spinning a little bit slow too. Might be still tired from running the winch on the trailer. But we may have either a bad oil pressure switch or no oil pressure, one of the two. Yeah, plug the jumper pack in. We'll spin it a little bit more, see what we get. Probably what I'll do is I'll take the plugs out of it for less resistance, or maybe we'll spin it up with that. It might just have to go prime itself through this oil filter system. There we go, good. All right, false alarm, we have oil pressure. I'm happy. Should we do a compression test first, or you want to run it? It sounds pretty good. Usually you can hear you got a bad cylinder. You can hear each cylinder squeezing compression. It doesn't have that skip in it like one cylinder is dead. So I think maybe we'll just move ahead to see if we can get the fire up. I need to dig up a coil, and we need to get rid of this. So we can get fuel in it. That's rocking because there's no muffler on it. The intake manifold is attached down below, down here, and that muffler's on. That's why the carb's able to rock a little bit. I'm not gonna be that concerned about it. So I went searching in my stash. I found a coil. I don't know if it's any good. I guess we're gonna go find out. What this is gonna get hooked up to, it's got a plus and a negative on it, or a 1 and a 15. 1 is negative, 15 is positive. Negative is going to come, that's the signal coming from the distributor, from the points, telling it when to fire. So there should be a wire coming off of the condenser, which is probably going to be that one. So that is going to be our negative signal, or on-off signal for the coil. And then I got to run another jumper wire, again, back to that jumper pack from the hot side. We're going to put 12 volts on that side. And also, 12 volts needs to go to the carburetor in two places. One right here, which is a fuel solenoid shut off. And then on the other side, it has a choke. That's already got a wire on it. Generally, that wire, we could probably just jump those two together. Put those two together, and they also go on the hot side. Here we go. So I'm gonna go wire that up, and I don't know, duct tape it to the wall or something. And we'll give her a spin and see if we get spark. Got a little high-tech hold down going on. Safety red, safety first. Again, so this is the signal coming from the points. The on-off signal going to the ground side of the coil. And then we have, this is going to be 12 volts coming in. And I just have coming off of that 12 volts also, as I said, energizing here and here for the choke. Let's go see what, it seems about right. Doesn't look like that carb was, anything's been done to it in a few years. I got a plug out. Just not a plug out, another plug in it. Let's go see if we could put 12 volts on the party wagon over here. And we'll crank it and see if we get any spark. I haven't cleaned the points or anything yet. I suspect that we probably should need to. But you want to get in there, right? Okay, the relay is clicking on the carb. So no power is getting to that. Where's my start button? There it is. Let's go see. We have spark. Awesome. Let's go put that back in. You kind of want to make sure you disconnect it between cranks because it will burn up the points on you. We need fuel. I'm gonna put that back in and see if we could trickle some gas in her and fire her up. All right, let's go give her some gas. A little for that. And then we're going to try to put some in the float bowl. Probably save a hair if you need to go fire it again. Let's hook that power wire back up. Slide my jumper back in. Hopefully the motor doesn't do a dance and fall on the floor. Let's see. Nice. Not even smoking. So in that nasty old gas tank down there, there's some premix 2-stroke gas, but it's what I have here right now. A piece of clear fuel line going up to the fuel filter. Fuel filter goes to the pump, kicks back out again, and goes back up to the carburetor. I'm going to see if that fuel pump is any good and whether it'll prime itself or not. It's kind of pulling from a little on the high end side. Usually it's the gas tank's almost level with the pump. But we are going to help it because we're going to get it so it will run. This horn right up inside here, can you see? Yeah. That horn right up inside there, that leads right into the float bowl. So if I stick this bottle down there and I shoot some fuel in it, it's filling the float bowl up. So it'll run off of that. And then, just give it a little primer. Should fire right back up again once we put power to the coil. Get in there. And we'll see if it'll prime itself up. Back up a little bit. I don't want you to get hurt, you know. Gonna idle. We probably can play with that a little bit. I don't know if we need to or not, but let's give it a little bit. The carb is kind of sticking to it. It's not returning. Step it up. It's got a stepper on this. This is as the choke warms up, it turns itself off and the idle comes down lower and lower. Where's our button? going to let it run itself out of gas because I don't want to store it with a bunch of gas inside the carburetor. I'm going to let her go for a little bit. Probably going to take a couple of minutes. Yeah, that's how I wanted to leave it. I wanted to put it away dry so it doesn't have fuel sitting inside there. That carb still needs to be rebuilt, but the fuel pumps have a tendency, especially with the new fuel and the ethanol that's in them, it takes out the diaphragms inside those. So it's nice that all that stuff is left dry because that apparently seems to work just fine. I say we go pull the 4 plugs out of it. We'll quickly do a compression test and we'll see what it has. And we'll, if we have one that's real low, we'll adjust the valves. If not, we're just going to leave it alone for now. That's the 4 plugs pulled out of it. They are definitely not new. 1, 2, 3, and 4. It actually looks like exhaust or something was blowing across them. I'm not sure on that. Because it's even across all 4. It could have been just it was running in a dirty climate and the air that was around it was crappy and kind of blowing on them. Alright, let's get the compression tester in there and see how that looks. A subscriber sent a new compression tester to me. Thank you very much. I guess he was tired of not being able to see my gauge on camera. I could see it, you just couldn't see it really on camera. Let's go see what we got. Plugs are out of it. Throttle is wide open. Yeah, you can't. There's a screwdriver jammed in the carb to make it so it's full throttle, so there's no resistance. I'm gonna call that 160. It looks like. Make sure that that is PSI. Yeah, the outer scale is PSI. There's the inner and an outer. 160 on number 1. Let's see what number 2 has to offer. I'd call that, we'll call it 145, just shy of 150 for number 2. See what number 3 has to offer. 155, almost 160. We'll call it 155. And last but not least, we call that. We're going to call that one 160. Nice. So our low is 145 and our high is 160. That's fine. You really don't want to be much more than say 10 or 15% difference across them, and then once you get down below 90 you're getting pretty tired too. So that seems like it's all fine. I don't see any issues there whatsoever. I don't think it's going to have blow by because those numbers are too high. Generally, if you have a blow by, is like a leaky cylinder head gasket, but these don't have cylinder head gaskets, but it's that same idea. It leaks between the jug and the cylinder head. Don't see a problem there. If you start getting much more than 10 or 15% difference between the high and the low, sometimes what you'll find is you're not able to dial the carburetor in to get a smooth idle. It'll want to skip a beat. rich lean mix, you're trying to favor one or the other. I'm trying to figure out which way it goes. I think you actually want it, I'm not sure if you want it richer or leaner on a cylinder that's on low compression. I'm not going to even make a guess on that because I forget which way it is, but we're fine, doesn't really matter. I don't see any leaks underneath it. Seems all nice and dry. Generator looks like it was new when it was put on there. I'm not going to test it right now, but you can see the depth of the brushes. That's the brush, the square thing in the middle, and this is a spring retainer that pushes pressure down on it. As they get older, those brushes kind of run in, so it looks like it's a fairly new setup. Other thing is going to be end play. So what end play is how much play the crankshaft has. On a standard transmission, what happens is when you push on the clutch is actually pushing the whole crankshaft to one side, and it causes play laterally. This is what we're talking about. And generally, you can push and pull. And if you get a large clunk, generally, what you really do is you put a gauge on the side of it. And I forget what it is. I want to say 9 thou, 13 thou, something like that. Again, that's just a guess on my part. But if you were to push and pull, you can do the same on the crankshaft. Probably a screwdriver will help us too. Let's go. And there. Grab ourselves a big old screwdriver. And you're just kind of rocking it forward and back. And you want to see how much play you have. That may have a problem where it's actually a little too tight. You need a little bit of play in it. I did see when I was taking the parts out of the bus that there was a shim kit inside there. So I'm not going to be that concerned about it right now, but when I go to get its final tear down and clean up and the thermostat hooked up and tins painted, all that, we're going to look into that and we'll set that up at that time. Right now I'm not going to worry about it, but it's better, at least we know that it doesn't have a ton of play in it. And if it has a ton of play in it, that means the bottom end is just kind of thrashed. The thrust bearing on the crank is wore out and the crank's got played. Essentially, you would need a bottom end if it gets too bad. So when you hit the clutch with your foot, there's a throwout bearing. It pushes right against here. And this is, here's the rest of the transmission. Throwout bearing pushes against here. These springs back off. The disc in the center now is not locked to the flywheel. It's allowed to spin free. That's neutral. When you have the pedal down, you let off. It binds up the clutch disc to the flywheel, and then the input shaft is now locked to the engine again. That's how it works. But if you sit there at a light or whatever, you ride the clutch, you push the clutch a lot. When you're sitting at a light, it pushes, you're literally pushing on the end of the crankshaft. The engine is spinning and you're pushing the crankshaft. And over time that has an issue to cause, again, end play or crankshaft play on there. Automatic's not so much because automatic really never has that issue. So sometimes those motors survive much longer. Also, was it a city car using going through the gears a lot, or something you cruising on the highway, you took your foot off the clutch and had a lot of miles on it, but won't show that wear. Now what I'm going to do is, just because I know it's going to sit for a while, I'm going to go with an oil can. Give a couple of shots of motor oil in each cylinder, just so that as it sits, any rust that wants to form on it puts a light coating on, the valves, the jugs, the rings. Can't get it in the hole. There we go. So that'll kind of coat everything. I might bump it. I don't want to spin it fast. Are we still hooked up? It'll shoot the oil out. There we go. So now all that stuff's coated with oil. Also, sometimes people ask, like on some of the other ones that are really hard to start that have been sitting for a long time, why do you crank it so much? Why don't you just throw some ether in it and fire it up? It has nothing to do with the fuel delivery it's getting. The problem is when they sit for a long time, the compression is low. And to get the compression up, it just needs to cycle some. The valves have, if you were to take the valves out, take the engine apart, the surface of the edge of the valve just has rust on it. It needs to kind of hammer itself a couple of times to get that stuff cleaned off. So that's why they fart and cough and start popping. One cylinder starts firing a little bit, then another one kicks in. It's the nature of it. You can take it apart and clean it all, but you know, if you just spin it a bunch and put some fuel in it, some oil in it, it will, if it's a savable engine, come back on its own. So that's why that gets done. Well, that's it, guys. Again, the bus went into dry storage until we're ready to get into it, because I want to finish up some other projects before I start another one. I'm kind of bad doing that. I think a lot of people are. But I'm happy with what we got. We got a good engine. We can go put that, and in case I blow up another VW engine in between, at least we know we have this one that can be ready to rock and roll with just a little bit more love. So with that, thank you all for kind of hanging out in the garage with me, wrenching on some kind of rusty junk. And I will see you soon on the next one. So until then, guys, later. Bye. But it's a really nice day out. Everything's budding. Spring is here. Krusty's out. How about we go for a little bit of a ride, huh? Like a kid. Everything's finally starting to turn green. Today's about 70 degrees. All the grass is kind of popping again. Almost lawnmower season. The trees are a little still behind yet though. You can see them, they're budding up, but they're not quite ready to rock and roll. Rusty's running good though.